Hello, good evening all. Myself, Dr. Vartya Jagan. So, in this video lecture, I am going to explain about three-phase drives. Right. So, see the contents which I am going to explain in this section. Right. So, if you recall the last video lectures, I have gone through the single-phase drives like single-phase separately excited DC motor and single-phase DC motor, and their speed torque characteristics, and we have derived some expressions, the relationship between torque and speed. Now here also we are going to see the torque speed characteristics of both the separately excited DC motor and DC series motor, but it is fed from three-phase controlled rectifier. So first we will go to the separately excited DC motor drive, where it is fed from semi-controlled converter and then fully controlled converter, and its speed torque characteristics. Thereafter, in the next video session, I will explain about three-phase DC series motor drives. Right. So here you can see. So whenever the machine is having a large rating, then it should fed from three-phase rectifiers, right? So large horsepower DC drives takes power from three-phase drives, three-phase sources. In such sources, drive motor is controlled by three-phase controlled converters. The ripple frequency of the motor terminal voltage is higher than that of the single-phase converter. That is why it requires lesser values of filtering equipment. So here you can see the three-phase AC supply with 50 Hz frequency, VA, VB, and VC, where VA equal to VM sin omega t, VB equal to VM sin omega t minus 120, VC equal to VM sin omega t minus 240 degrees. And it is converting this AC to a variable DC here, and it is given to the armature terminal of separate excited DC motor. Here you can see this is the electrical equivalent circuit of a armature circuit. The field winding is fed from a different source because it is separate excited DC motor, right? So we will see some basic equations of the separately excited DC motor drive, because we have already gone through the first two lecture videos, and the same equations you can see here. The back EMF in the DC motor is phi Z N period by 60A. So where you can see these are the constant parameters, where Z is the number of armature conductor, P is the number of poles, 60 is also constant, A is the number of parallel path. So for a designed machine, all these things are constant. So you can see K is the constant, which is Z period by 60A. So in terms of this K, you can write average back EMF equal to capital EG equal to KF phi into N, where N is the armature speed in RPM, flux is phi is the flux per pole in Webers, K is the constant, and EG is the back EMF in the armature, motor armature. And these are the torque expression. Again, you can see the power developed by the motor is speed into torque. So you can write torque in terms of speed and power and speed. So it is P by 2 pi N, and where P is the generated voltage into the armature current. So you can substitute here. But from the last slide, we have seen EG, which is phi Z N period by 60A, right? And N, which is also a speed, but it is in revolution per second. So now small n, I can write capital N divided by 60. So instead of EG and N, you can see it is phi Z N period by 60A divided by 2 pi into N by 60. So n by 60 in the numerator, n by 60 in the denominator will get cancelled. So you will get this expression. Again, if you see this torque expression where Zp by 2 pi a is constant. Z is the number of conductor, P is the number of poles, A is the number of parallel paths, 2 pi is also constant. This I can write it as B kb. Then in terms of torque, kb in terms of torque will be torque equal to kb into phi into Ia, where Ia is the armature current, kb is constant, flux is phi. Right? So these are some basic equations. Now, in case of separate excited DC motor, now it consists of armature resistance, armature inductance, and you'll be having back EMF here. So the applied voltage across the armature terminal is VDC. So if you apply KVL in this loop and the current flowing through the armature circuit is IA, so that will be IARA drop across this resistance, LA di by dt, that is the drop across the inductor, plus this back EMF will give the input voltage. Right? So but the average voltage across the inductor should goes to 0. So average input voltage EA equal to IARA plus EG. So from here you can write EG equal to EA, that is terminal voltage, minus IARA, right? But in the last slide we have seen the EG is equal to KFI into N. So your speed expression will be EA minus IARA divided by KFI. So depending upon the converter, if it is a three-phase semi-controlled converter, EA will be different. If it is a three-phase fully controlled converter, EA will be different. So now EA will be in terms of alpha. So by varying the alpha, you can vary the EA, which will vary the speed of the DC motor. Now here you can see the three-phase semi-controlled converter connected to separately excited DC motor. Now here you can see three-phase AC supply with VA, VB, and VC, the three-phase voltages. So where VA is connected to center point of leg A, VB is connected to center point of leg B, VC is connected to center point of leg C, and each leg is having one thyristor, one diode, right? Leg A is having S1 D1, leg B is having S2 D2, leg C is having S3 D3, and here you can see the freewheeling diode, right? So during discharging conduction, the freewheeling diode comes into picture, and where LA is the armature inductance, RA is the armature resistance. Here you can see the back EMF, and since it is separate excited DC motor, the field winding is fed from separate DC source, which may be fed from constant DC source, or it may be fed from some single phase converter, controlled converter, or three-phase controlled converter, depending upon the rating of the field winding. Right? So now these are the waveforms for this semi-controlled converter. Right? So here, as I told you, VA equal to the reference voltage, which is Vm sin omega t. So at different values of omega t, you can see the VA curve like this. We starting from the reference point at omega t equals 0 onwards, and it is following the wave shape like this, right? And similarly, VB will lag the VA by 120 degrees. So I can write it is Vm sin of omega t minus 120 degrees. So that means, which means at omega t equal to 120 degrees, your VB will be 0. That you can see it is at this particular point omega t equal to 120 degrees, and different also of omega t, you can see the wave shape like this. So which is for VB. Okay, this is for VB. Here you can see VB, right? Similarly, you can write VC. VC equal to, VC has to lag the VA by 240 degrees. Then I can write VC VC equal to Vm sin omega t minus 240 degrees. Minus 240 degrees. So here I will write VC equal to Vm sin omega t minus 240 degrees, which means at omega t equal to 240 degrees, Sine of 240 minus 240 sine 0, it will be 0. So VC has to start from 240 degrees onward. Here you can see where omega t equal to 240 degrees. So at different values of omega t, you will see the wave shape like this, right? So this is the wave shape for VA, VB, and VC, where each phase voltage is phase difference by 120 degrees apart each other, right? So now just focus on the voltages. So here you can see this is a crossover point T1. Here you can see T2. Here is crossover point T3. T4 is another crossover point like T5 and T6. So between T1 and T3, VA is more positive. So here you can see the top group thyristors are associated with positive, right? And the bottom group devices are called negative group devices, right? Which means they will come into they will be in forward bias condition whenever they are having more positive voltage across them. Here also they will be in forward bias condition whenever they are having more negative voltage across them, right? So between T1 and T3, S1 will be having more positive voltage across it, so S1 will be in forward bias condition. Similarly, between T3 and T5, between T3 and T5, B phase voltage having more positive, then thyristor S2 associated with B phase will be in forward bias condition. Between T5 and T7 also, VC is having more positive. So VC thyristor is S3, which is having more positive voltage across it. So during that interval, S3 will be in forward bias condition. Similarly, if you see the diodes D1, D2, and D3, so between T2 and T4, D3 is having more negative voltage across it. So D3 will be in forward bias condition. And between T4 and T6, D1 will be having more negative voltage across it. So it will be in forward bias condition during this interval. Similarly, between T6 and T8, D2 will be having more negative voltage across it. So that will be in forward bias condition, right? So now out of these 6 devices, top pair are they are control devices. So they will be in conduction state only when you apply the gate pulse at the gate terminal. So at alpha equal 60, here you can see 90 degrees. At alpha equal 90 degrees, since S1 it is in forward bias condition. So if I apply triggering pulse to that S1 switch, from that particular point on, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. So S1 is replaced by short circuit. VA is at higher potential now. The current is flowing through VA positive, S1 anode and cathode, terminal X, LA, RA, and to terminal Y, right? Now, during this interval, just after this omega t equal to 120 degrees, here you can see omega t equal to 120 degrees. So you can see diode D3 is having more negative voltage across it. So that will be in forward bias condition. So D3 will conduct automatically without applying any triggering pulse, and it will take the current, return current through this D3. During this interval, the inductor is charging like this. So now the load is carrying the discharging current. So you can say during this interval, you can see the charging current, which is load current IA, right? Armature current of the motor, right? So from that particular onwards, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. Now you can see why it is VAC only, because now the terminal X and Y, X is connected to VA, Y is connected to VC. So the net voltage across the terminal X and Y will be VA minus VC, because VA at higher potential. So VA minus VC is the voltage across terminal X and Y, that I can write is VAC. So here you can see VAC, right? So when the load is connected to source, the inductor is charging with this polarity, right? So now at T4, just after this T4, here you can see, just after T4, the diode D3 voltage is also negative, but its magnitude is less when compared to the D1, right? So just after T4, the diode D3 automatically goes to off state, right? Then this energy stored in the inductor will be discharged through this freewheeling diode. So before discharging, the inductor has to replace its polarity like this, negative and positive, and the current will flow from La positive, Ra, back EMF, diode, and to L negative. So this is the discharging current of the inductor, which is flowing through the freewheeling diode. Now, if you want to see the voltage across the load, the voltage across the load means voltage across terminal X and Y. So the terminal X and Y are short circuited by this freewheeling diode. The short circuit voltage should be 0. That is why you can see the 0 voltage here. And during this 0 voltage, the diode is carrying the discharging current of the inductor. So discharging current is also flowing to the load, that is load current IA. So you can see the discharging current, right? And these are the armature current, sorry, current flowing to the phase A, right? So during discharging current, there is no current which is flowing from the A phase. That is why you can say 0 current. But before that, it is carrying the current which is the charging current of the inductor, and you can see the charging current of the inductor like this, right? Similarly, other thyristor T2 is triggered at some particular firing angle. Okay, so let us say they are triggered symmetrically. So again, it is triggered at alpha equal omega t equal to alpha. So alpha should be measured from this reference point, right? So now at this particular point, we have applied triggering impulse to S2. So S2 will be in conduction state, and during this interval, the B phase voltage is having more positive. Here you can see it is having more positive voltage across it, right? So the current has to flow from VB positive through S2 anode and cathode, terminal X, LA, RA, right, to terminal Y, and there should be return path for the current to flow, right? So to get return path, we need to see which device it is in forward bias condition. So now you can see just after this particular point, D1 it is in forward bias condition because it is having more negative voltage across it. So it will take the path through D1. So terminal X, D1 anode and cathode, and back to the source like this. So this is the direction of current, right? Now terminal X is connected to B, terminal Y is connected to A. So the net voltage across the load, which is across terminal X and Y, will be B VB, which is at higher potential, minus VA. So I can write it is VBA in short, right? So that is why from this particular point on, the output voltage is following the input voltage. During this interval, D1, S2, they are in conduction state, and the load is having the charging current of the inductor. You can see the charging current of the inductor. Okay, now IA is carrying the negative current. That is why you can see it is carrying the negative current, which is the discharging current of the inductor, right? So here at this particular point at omega t equal to T6, here you can see after T6, diode D3 is also having a negative voltage, but the voltage across the diode D2 is more, negative voltage is more across the diode D2. So diode D1 will automatically goes to off condition. So that will be replaced by open circuit, right? But the load has to carry some current because it is having the energy in the inductor like this, right? That energy has to discharge. So before discharging current, it will replace its polarity, right, like this, and the freewheeling diode comes into picture, and instead of flowing through the source, load and all, it will flow through L positive, RA, back EMF, through freewheeling diode and L negative. So the terminal X and Y, they are short circuited by freewheeling diode. That is why you can see 0 current, 0 voltage across them. But it is having the discharging current of the inductor. That is why you can say discharging current of the inductor like this, right? Similarly, for the other duration also, you will get same voltages and currents, right? So this is about at alpha equal to 90 degrees, and here you can see the derivation part. derivation of average output voltage. So now if you see from here to here, it is completing one cycle. It is completing one input cycle. So in one input cycle, you can see the 3 output cycles, 1, 2, and 3 up to this particular point. So in 2 pi interval, it is 3 by 2 pi, because there are 3 such kind of cycles, right? So 3 by 2 pi. Here onwards we are getting some voltage, which is, you can say, pi by 6 plus alpha. To, if you see at this particular point, it will be pi by 6 plus alpha plus 2 pi by 3 will be there, this particular point. And this voltage VAC, so you can write VA minus VC into d omega t. VA we know Vm sin omega t, VC we know Vm sin omega t, minus 4 pi by 3 or plus 2 pi by 3. Just substitute those values here, integrate, right, and substitute the upper limit or lower limit. You will get average output voltage across the load will be 3 root 6 by 2 pi into Vs into 1 plus cos alpha, right? Which means now the average voltage across the load is depends upon the firing angle alpha. Now this variation you can see is a variation versus EA, variation of average output voltage VA versus the firing angle alpha. So if I substitute alpha equals 0 here, cos 0 it will be 1, 1 plus 1, 2. So 2 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator will get cancelled. The EA will be, it is 3 by root 6, 3 root 6 into Vs divided by pi. So here you can see at alpha equal to 0. Similarly, if I substitute alpha equal to 90 degrees, so if cos 90 it will be 0, so it will be 3 root 6 by 2 pi into Vs. Exactly will get half of the voltage at alpha equals 0, right? Similarly, at alpha equal to 180 degrees, cos 180 is minus 1. So minus 1 plus 1 and the whole thing goes to 0. So you can see the 0. So this is the variation of the average output voltage and the firing angle alpha for semi-controlled converter, right? So now in the first slide we have seen the speed expression, which is EA minus IARA divided by KA phi. Now we are going to see the speed in terms of torque, right? Now here you can see the speed expression. Now we know EA is 3 root 6 by 2 pi into Vs into 1 plus cos alpha for semi-controlled converter. We just substitute here. And in case of separately excited DC motor, torque equal to KB phi into IA. From here, IA in terms of torque will be torque divided by KB phi, right? So instead of IA, you just substitute torque divided by KB phi. So if you substitute here, the torque will be, the speed in terms of torque will be this expression. It is 3 root 6 into Vs into 1 plus cos alpha divided by 2 pi into K phi minus torque divided by Ka KB phi square into Ra, right? So most of the cases we need to consider K equal to KB, right? Most of the textbooks they have considered K equal to KB, right? So for different values of firing angle alpha, at alpha equals 0, it will be 1 plus 1, 2, 2 in the numerator, 2 in the denominator will get cancelled. You will get the curve at alpha equal to 0 degrees, something like this. And if I increase the firing angle alpha, there is a decrement in the average output voltage. If the average output voltage decreases, then a reduction in the speed, right? That you can see at alpha equal 30, the speed is less when compared to alpha equal 0 degrees. Similarly, if I still increase the firing angle alpha, there is a more decrement in the voltage, terminal voltage. If that is the case, then there is a decrement in the speed further. So you can see at alpha equals 60 degrees, alpha equal 90 degrees, like this. So these are the speed torque characteristics of a separately excited DC motor when it is fed from semi-controlled converter, right? Now we are replacing the semi-controlled converter with fully controlled converter. Here you can see it is 3-phase, right? Fully controlled converter. Here you can see the fully controlled converter connected to separately excited DC motor. It is connected to armature terminal. Field winding is connected to some different source, right? So now EA will change because EA depends upon the converter configuration. Now the converter is a three-phase fully controlled converter. So let us see. Here you can see, right? This is a fully controlled converter. Okay. Again, from T1 to T3, S1 will be in forward bias condition. From T1, T3 to T5, S3 will be in forward bias condition. Between T5 and T7, S5 will be in forward bias condition. Again, between T2 and T4, S2 will be in forward bias condition. Between T4 and T6, S4 it is in forward bias condition. Between T6 and T8, S6 it is in forward bias condition. Overall, I can conclude one thing here. These are positive group thyristors. These are negative group thyristors. So whenever the thyristors across this S2, the voltage across S2, S4, S6 is having more negative, they will be in forward bias condition. The top pair devices are called positive group devices because they will be in forward bias condition whenever they are having more positive voltage across them, right? So now you can see at alpha equals 60, I want to plot the waveforms. So at alpha equals 60, matlab omega t will be 90 degrees. So at this particular point, S1 will be in forward bias condition. So I can apply triggering first to S1. The current will carry through S1 from VA positive S1 anode and cathode terminal X, LA, RA, and back to the source, right? So to get the reverse current, we need to see which device will be in forward bias condition so that I can apply triggering pulse to the forward bias thyristor. So here I can see from here to here, S2 will be in forward bias condition, right? So I can apply triggering pulse to S2. But you can see one more thing here. Just before this particular point, S6 it is in forward bias condition and it is triggered at this particular point. So whenever S6 is in forward bias condition and it is in triggering condition, so that will be in conduction state, right? So the return path will take through S6 anode and cathode and back to the VB. So the next voltage across terminal X and Y will be the difference between VA and VB. So I can say VA minus VB is the voltage across terminal X and Y. So I can write VAB, right? So from this particular point on, the output voltage following the input voltage like this, right? And the inductor is having charging current in it. So you can say charging and discharging, right? And there is a current through the phase A. So you can see the phase A current up to this particular point, right? Now at this particular point, at a T3, we are going to apply triggering pulse to S2 because S2 is in forward bias condition. So it will conduct. So now instead of flowing through the S6, now the current will take the path through S2 because it is in forward bias condition. So now the difference between the voltage across terminal X and Y will be VA minus VB, VA minus VC. So it is VAC instead of VAB. So now you can see the voltage across the load is VAC. Similarly, if I trigger S3 at this particular point, now switch S1 will goes to off condition and it will take the path through S3, terminal X, LA, RA through S2 like this. So voltage across the terminal X and Y will be VB minus VC. Then you can say VBC here. And you can say the load currents are like this. Okay. The same thing will be applicable for the remaining time intervals. So we'll get the conduction will be something like this, right? So this at alpha equals 60 degrees and you can say this at alpha equal to 90 degrees. Okay. So here you can see the difference between the semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. So before going to see this variation difference, let us derive the average output voltage expression for fully controlled converter. So this is VA Vm sin omega t, VB equal to Vm sin omega t minus 120, VC equal to Vm sin omega t plus 120 degrees or minus 240 degrees. So it is EA equal to 3 by pi from here to here, pi by 6 plus alpha 2, pi by 6 plus alpha plus 60 degrees, which is pi by 30 degrees. We are getting some voltage across the load. It is VAB, I can write VA minus VB into d omega t. Substitute VA this much, VB is VM sin omega t minus 120 degrees, and integrate, substitute the upper limit and lower limit, you will get the average output voltage across the load is VA equal to 3 root 6 by pi into Vs into cos alpha, right? So this is the average output voltage across the load, right? Now, just now in the last slide we have derived the expression for semi-controlled converter, which is 3 root 6 by 2 pi Vs into 1 plus cos alpha, right? And you can see the variation of the average output voltage for semi-controlled converter with the firing angle alpha for this expression. Now we are going to see the variation of EA for fully controlled converter. If alpha equal to 0 degrees, cos 0 it is 1, it will be 3 root 6 by pi into Vs, the same as semi-controlled converter. That is why both the converter are starting from this particular point, right? Similarly, at alpha equal to 90 degrees, cos 90 is 0. So 0 by something will be 0. You can see the VA versus CA like this. At alpha equal to 180 degrees, cos 180 is minus 1. So you'll get minus of 3 root 6 divided by pi into Vs. So you can see the variation like this during this interval, which means when alpha is less than 90 degrees, the converter will work as a rectifier. When alpha is more than 90 degrees, it will work in inversion operation, right? So this is about fully controlled converter and variation of EA at a different firing angle alpha, right? And in the first slide, we have seen the speed expression is this much, where EA equal to 3 root 6 divided by pi into Vs into cos alpha. This is for fully controlled converter, right? You instead of EA, you just substitute this. And now torque in terms of known factor torque, IA in terms of torque, I can write torque equal to kb phi into IA. So from this one, IA I can write a torque divided by kb phi. So you just substitute in terms, instead of IA, it is torque divided by kb phi, right? So if you do the torque, the speed in terms of torque will be speed equal 3 root 6 divided by pi kfi into Vm cos alpha minus torque divided by Ka kb phi square into Ra. So for a design machine, Ra is constant. Since it is separate excited DC motor, phi is also constant. Ka kb are the constant parameters, right? Vm is also constant, pi is also constant, 3 root 6 also constant. So you can vary the firing angle alpha, or you can vary the speed of the separate excited DC motor just by varying the firing angle alpha, right? So at different values of firing angle alpha, you will get different speed, right? So now we have seen in the last slide that at alpha equals 0, the average output voltage is same for both semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. So the speed will be same for at alpha equals 0 for both semi and fully controlled converter. You can see this is for both semi and fully controlled converter. Now at alpha equals 30, the average output voltage is more in case of semi-controlled converter. That is why the speed is more in case of semi-controlled converter, and speed is less in case of fully controlled converter for same firing angle alpha 30, right? Again, at alpha equals 60 degrees, the average output voltage is more in case of semi-controlled converter. Now here you can see it is for semi-controlled converter, and in case of fully controlled converter, it will be less. Here you can see this is fully controlled converter at alpha equal 60 degrees, right? So the variation of the speed and torque characteristics is like this. So the separate excited DC motor is also called as constant speed motor. There is a only slight variation in the variation in the speed is there, which is from no load to full load. Only 5 to 10% variation is there. Almost 5% variation is there, not more than that, right? So you can see almost constant speed. So this is about three-phase separately excited DC motor drive system. So now we can control the speed by controlling the firing angle alpha to a converter. Thank you. In the next video, I will try to explain about the three-phase DC series motor drive.